that part is done. So then you start something new, a new chapter, which could be good or bad, I don't know, but like that, it's done. And that goes with relationships and with places, with businesses. Yeah, and in all the end, it's all about the progression that you have in life, and you learn from these experiences. So it's beautiful how you described it, and I find it scary still at sometimes as well. Yeah.
Joeri, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, really good to have you on. Yeah, I think just to start off, I just think it'd be cool to give us a little bit of an introduction. What are you doing here in Bali? And yeah, we'll go from there.
Sure, man. Yeah. So Yuri, originally from the Netherlands, 35 years old, and been in Bali now for a little over 2 years. And yeah, I run my own LinkedIn marketing business. So I mainly focus on helping entrepreneurs to get more leads, get more sales, build their personal brand. So that allows me to work from anywhere in the world, basically. When I started my business 2 years ago, kind of came to the point like I can either do this in rainy Amsterdam, or I can just like escape and yeah, move to Bali and work from here. So I set my business up internationally, so I can also serve clients across the world, which I'm very grateful for, and that has led me to live in Bali. So that's what I do on the business side. Personally, yeah, just enjoy everything that the island has to offer. Do a lot of Muay Thai, workout, chilling at beach clubs, friends, exploring the island, all of that. So yeah, maybe that sums it up.
Yeah, so it sounds like a awesome life you've built there. I was just wondering because yeah, you've built this sort of LinkedIn marketing business over the past 2 years or so. What sort of led you to create that? Had you always wanted to do your own thing? What sort of pushed you to start that? Because I think for a lot of people, they have these ideas, but they never really
Yeah.
follow through with it.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I think there's a lot there. I started my business 2 years ago. I always knew I wanted to do something for myself, but I never really knew what it was going to be. And just to take you back, like in the beginning of my career, like 13 years ago, I started to work for bigger companies. I started off at Philips. Not sure if you know Philips, from like the lighting equipment and medical care, domestic appliances. So I started to work for them, and yeah, back then I had the ambition to become the CEO, right? To like achieve as much as I could within the domain of working for a larger corporation. I was always very grateful to be working for such a big company, and yeah, I just remember one point that I was at a meeting of like a high level C-level person, senior director, and at Philips, you could see like the scales of like how much money people are making, and I kind of knew what this guy was making, maybe not including his bonuses and stuff, but I remember him saying like first he was asking like who wants to become a CEO of Philips. I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, that's what I want to do, and he basically said, well, I now made an agreement with my wife that I started my work at 7 in the morning and I finished no later than 11 p.m. And that was like such a realization moment for me. It's like, holy fuck, man, yes, you make decent money, but like the guy was like working 16, 17 hours a day, and like probably had kids. He was like somewhere up in his 50s, and that was like a really pivotal moment for me. I was like, fuck, this is not what I want to, this is not what I want to achieve. You know, this is the wrong goal that I'm chasing or pursuing after. So this was like a really defined moment for me. It's like, no, this is actually not what I want to do. So at that time I started to like look at my options, and maybe I wanted to start my own business, but I felt like I didn't have much experience at that time. So I started to invest. I started to invest in different things, including like real estate, to already build up part of my freedom, because freedom for me was is still the most important thing. So I did some investing, then I switched to freelancing, which was good at that time as well. Did that for a couple of years, and also still for large corporations. So this is like over a time span of about a decade. And then COVID hit. And yeah, that changed everything, where I was like, fuck, I don't feel like this is no longer serving me. I just want to create something really for myself, because even though the freelancing was really good, the money was great, like there's still a cap to what I could make. And I was building someone else's dream instead of my own dream, if that makes sense, right? So at that point, I decided to like leave everything behind. I left to Mexico for 4 months, taking a sabbatical, rethinking what I wanted to do. And then I figured like, hey, I want to help actual entrepreneurs, you know, physical human beings also, like instead of like the big brands who actually want to create a dream of their own, I want to help them. And that's kind of how I founded my business, because I felt that with 10 years of experience in marketing, I had enough experience to also start out and help other people. So this is how I really started my business. And yeah, then I also decided, hey, if I can do this from anywhere, I'll do it from Bali instead of the Netherlands. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point because it seems like you've, even though sort of you were leading up to something and then you eventually figured out, right, this isn't actually what I want, you've still built up such a great, well, I presume you saved money, but then you've also built up so many skills as well, which you can then use for your own thing. That's why I think one key thing on this podcast, which I've always observed, is like, even if you don't exactly know what you want or there is something that has changed, it doesn't really matter as long as you're doing something and you're building up experience, right? I wonder because, yeah, you were quite driven to basically climb that ladder to the top, right? Is that something you think in the Netherlands it was just a thing everyone did, or why do you think you sort of wanted that? Was it just that was all that was told you were told, or?
Yeah, I guess you don't know what you don't know, and like at that time, that was my focus. So the people I looked up to were people who climbed the corporate career, and the only thing that I could see was like how much money they were making, because money for me equals freedom. So I was just looking like, okay, if I want to achieve my freedom, I need to climb the corporate ladder, right? So that's just the only path that I knew at that time. And then I realized like, okay, this is not for me. What are the other options to still create that freedom without working 18 hours a day until I'm like fucking 60 and probably don't even know the name of my kids, you know? So that's not the path that I wanted to go. So I started to explore the other options. What other options are there? And that comes to freelancing, investing, starting your own business, reading books, looking at examples of how other people have done it. And that opened up a new world. Like, oh, okay, you know, you can still create your freedom, create the life that you want without having to like put all your blood, sweat, and tears in corporate life and actually building someone else's dream rather than your own.
Right, because it's like if that's all you know, that's all you're going to strive for, right?
Yeah.
I think that's just so important, just because you always knew it was freedom that you wanted. Whereas I do wonder if a lot of people are climbing that ladder, do they really know their why? Is it, okay, you ask them, oh, how come you're doing what you're doing? Oh, to make money. Okay, why are you making money? And then in your case, it's like, okay, to have freedom. But then it's like, okay, what does freedom look like to you? And then when you really dig deep, it's like actually freedom isn't just having a lot of money, because in that particular instance, that came at a cost. It meant that you couldn't hang out with your family, you couldn't do all of this type of thing. So I think even that's just so important. And then just in your case of reading books and actually becoming more aware and learning about the world is just so important. I think yeah, going out there reading books. I think that's a big problem, is that you presume that sort of everyone knows how to do something, but then when you look deep, it's like people actually don't know there's other ways of living your life. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. I wonder, sort of in your case then, so you've now built your own thing. How has that been building up your own business? Because I think it's easy to look, okay, wow, yeah, you've built this thing and you suddenly look the part, looking fantastic. And I wonder, how has that journey been for you building your own thing? Has it been a bit sort of up and down, or what's that journey been like for you?
Yeah. Also, good question. Like, yeah, it's all a trade-off, right? There's nothing wrong to be climbing that corporate ladder. Absolutely not, because it provides a lot of stability. It provides a lot of safety. So yeah, it can very well fit your journey. It really depends, as you said, like what is it that you want to create, and what are the values that you have, and what do you want. For me, that didn't fit. So I think, yeah, if you don't choose for that path, you choose for another one, which comes more with risk involved and more discovering the unknown. And it has been that way. It's been good. It's been giving like a lot of like the dopamine hits when something works and you pull it off and you create something and you go like, fuck, you know, I remember the first time I sent out my first invoice of my freelancing assignment. I put it up on the wall. I was like, holy shit, man, I'm making so much money.
Yeah,
And I put that, you know,
scary.
I quit my job. I searched for other assignments and I landed the assignments. I never like had a client conversation before. So those were like the adrenaline highs, you know, and realized starting your business, because freelancing I find is quite particularly different than starting your own business. Freelancing meaning you pay me by the hour and like I do the assignment for you. Starting your business is really like you create a service for people that you actually go out and sell. And that requires a lot of different skill sets that I found. Yes, I was in marketing for 10 years, but for corporate marketing, it's a lot different than for your own individual marketing. So it's personal branding, client acquisition, sales calls, selling high ticket things, customer service. So there's like a lot of things, which has been a very steep learning curve for me, which I definitely underestimated as well. I was like, oh, I'll just do it within 6 months. My idea was like I'm gonna create like an online course, and in 6 months I'm just gonna run ads, retire in Bali. That was the idea. Boy, was I wrong, you know. Like so, it's been rewarding because I get to help other people build their dreams and their businesses, and it's creating something for myself. And every day at the same time, also facing myself to keep pushing and building. And in the good moments, when I just this morning got an email from a client, you know, that he wants to like start a new program. So that's great, you know. And there's also been moments where you're like, shit, how am I gonna do this? Is this the right thing? And yeah, it's a very lonely journey at the same time. So I guess that's a trade-off that you make when you give up the stability and also the cap that you have with regards to freedom. That's what you give up, and in return you get the high highs, but also the low lows, where it's very self-reflecting, I think, and you're really dealing with your own mindset, your own demons, and yeah, your own drive, because it's easy to just throw in the towel if it's not easy. Yeah, it's you every morning having to motivate yourself and keep going. So it's been very dynamic, but one of the best learnings that I think I could have. Yeah.
I also wonder as well, because you mentioned there, yeah, it's like you expected it to just be this smooth sailing. Yeah, I'll just have a course and then it'll work out like this, right? Which I guess is also, I think that is kind of a nice message to people to inspire them to make that first step. Like, okay, look, you can change your lifestyle, you know, get a course. But then I think you've made a very good point there, right? It isn't just smooth sailing. When you realized, oh shit, like, okay, this is actually going to be quite a lot, did you ever doubt yourself or maybe doubt the journey, or what sort of kept you going on that path, right? Because I guess it's impossible to be 100% motivated all the time. But
Yeah.
I could be wrong in your case.
Yeah. No, good question. Like the best person who explained it in that way was Alex Hermosi. I don't know the name of his model, but he basically says like every entrepreneurial journey is kind of like the same. When you start off, like you would tell me something like, "Oh man, like I set up a crypto business and I made millions." You go like, "Oh cool, that I want to do that as well." Easy. You go like, "Oh, it's easy, man." Or you see like an ad where you have like optimism. And then you start and you go like, oh, I'm going to do this, like I'm going to leave my corporate job. And then at one point you find out, okay, it's not as easy maybe as you have told me or as the gurus have told me, right? You go down and then you go like, fuck, it's actually like a lot harder than I expected. Because I expected to just, as me, create a course, run some ads, retire in Bali. And then it's like, oh shit, it's not that easy as they've sold me. So you kind of start to realize, and then you hit like this point where you go like, I don't know, it's never going to work. Fuck this shit. It's all bullshit. It's never going to work. It's impossible. And he's like, a lot of people actually stop at that point, go back to the next best thing. The lady in the red dress, he calls it, like something else comes by, like, oh, this is it. And they start all over. And they never come out of that cycle of death, basically. And actually here, because he's like, the more effort you put in, the more reps you do, the better you become. So there will become a point where you go like, oh, I think I'm starting to get it. You know, I think I'm actually getting good at this. Because in the beginning, you suck. You know, if you start saying you suck, your first content will suck. Your first podcast will. It's okay, but you just need to push through that uncomfortableness and that willingness to fail and keep failing. And obviously, in current society, we're never taught that failing is good. And in entrepreneurial journey, you need to fail consistently, right? And then you come to a point you're like, oh, I think I get it. I landed my first client, got my first positive review, made my first profit, hired my first team member, gone viral for the first time, and then you kind of come out of that valley of death, I think, as he calls it. So with regards to me, yeah, I've been there, and sometimes I still feel that I'm stuck here, and sometimes things happen and go like, yes, this is good. It's much about being so determined to make it work that you just put everything on the line, like this is it, there's no way back, to just keep going. And I think that has to do with mindset, with motivation, perseverance, and having people around you who've done it before, where you go like, okay, I know it's possible.
I think that's super important, just knowing you're on the right track. Because I think listening to that, some people maybe who haven't got that mindset, they might think, yeah, but okay, what if it's just not a good idea? What if you're trying to force something into the market that's just not receptive, right?
Yeah.
So I guess the answer to that would be, as you've mentioned, like maybe go to someone who's gone on the path you have and said, look, is this going to work? Or just asking for advice and just put your ego to the side. I think I was discussing this, the other day as well. It's like if you don't know your shit, then don't pretend like you know it. Like just go out, seek people who've done the shit you've done. Just keep on asking for help. It's like that's the thing I learned in school actually as well. It's like no one wants to be seen to be the dumbass who's asking about shit. But then you reach a point where you're like, actually, no, I don't get this. I need to keep on asking.
Yeah.
And the teacher's not gonna, when has the teacher gone, mate, you're a bit stupid. Like, no,
Yeah.
that's just not a thing, right? Okay, there might be some immature kids in the class, but ultimately you're there to learn. So it's like, why wouldn't you just say, yeah, can you help me out with this and get better? And actually, I think just owning up to that in the short term, making sure you know all the facts and all the ideas will prevent you from looking like a bigger idiot later down the line anyway.
Yeah.
So I think, you've mentioned quite a good point there.
Yeah, it's mindset. Also, it's a lot of it has to do with fear. Fear of being perceived as stupid, or fear of being rejected, fear of not selling your program, and that fear holds back a lot of people because then they are perceived like their ego, or maybe the perceived outside world might think of them that they are a failure. They might think that themselves they are a failure, but it's actually like pushing through and falling 100 times to actually get through that. And yeah, having a mentor in place who's done it before, who can teach you the ropes, and or modeling a business model. I think that's the like Russell Brunson calls it funnel hacking, modeling something that actually has already proven to work. Because if you start off your business, oftentimes like you don't know if it's going to work. You don't know how long you need to push through before it becomes a success, or maybe it never becomes a success. So what Russell Brunson mentioned, he calls it like funnel hacking. Just look at people in the industry who do something very, very successfully, making millions, and then just model what they do. What type of copy are they writing? What offers do they create? What pain points are they solving? Just model it. Don't steal it. Put your own thing into it because you're a unique entrepreneur with your own vision. But this way it gives you relatively good understanding if the business is going to succeed or not. If no one in the industry is doing it or doing it successfully, like there's a pretty good chance that this is not going to succeed. And that could cost you a fuck ton of time and a lot of effort. So start with the research and find something which has already been proven to work.
Yeah, that's a great shout. Okay. Yeah, and I guess with that as well, it is the getting shit done every single day, just keep on going, and as long as you've sort of got that reference point and you're like, okay, right, this is working, let's just keep on going. As long as you know you're on the right path, I think it's just that maybe don't focus on where you want to be, just every day if you're just doing the right thing, then you'll get more out of it. I wonder, because you also mentioned some of the downsides of being an entrepreneur, doing your own thing, was that you have the ups and downs, but then you've also got life as well. You can't really detach from your work. I wonder if there's ever been instances where perhaps, okay, maybe the business isn't quite going how you've planned, and then your personal life, something has happened there, and then has it ever become maybe like too overwhelming at times, or how has that been for you? Sort of, because you can't really detach from it, can you? It's like when you're running your own thing, I presume it's just, everything's all molded into one, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There definitely have been moments when I moved to Bali about 2 years ago. I came from a 7-year relationship, and we broke up. I went to Bali, she went somewhere else, and it was a very tough breakup. Very hard to let go of her, and that also lasted quite a while after the breakup. So that was difficult to deal with personally. At the same time, like I have some real estate back in the Netherlands, and something happened during winter time. The electricity went out during a leakage, and everyone had to like move into a hotel. That cost me all of my last savings, like literally. I got screwed over by a contractor at the same time. My business wasn't taken off, and those are the points like, what am I gonna do? And like, then everything blends together, personally, business-wise. I guess it's important to just realize it's just a phase. As everything in life, it's just a phase. And if you can detach yourself from it, and I guess we'll just look for solutions, because in the end it will all work out. But like, yeah, those things, being an entrepreneur, you choose for the fact that you're on 24/7. You, specifically in the beginning, you are your own business. So you don't have the luxury of closing down your laptop and saying, well, guys, I'm off. Do whatever you want. It's minus 10 degrees, but like, you can call me tomorrow, or with clients or whatever. So yeah, it can definitely be stressful on a personal note as well.
So was it simply a case of, okay, just reminding yourself, okay, this is temporary? Was there anything you did, maybe, I don't know, for mental health or mindfulness maybe? Did you maybe incorporate more healthy habits, meditation, that type of thing? Or
Yeah.
did you have like outlets to put that maybe?
Yeah, I was very grateful that I think at that time I took a 10-week course from a mentor of mine, specifically for mental health focused for men. So I had a good support group, which has been very beneficial, looking at inner wounds, meditation, breath work, journaling, but just having a support group, which was online at that time, having a buddy to share things with, where I went through financially, but also with the relationship. So that was powerful. I did a one-on-one breathwork course with a friend of mine for like 10 weeks, which has been really, really powerful. Yeah, journaling, meditation are started part of like my daily practices. So those also help. Man Circle. So yeah, there's a bunch of things that I'm very grateful for that I discovered in Mexico when I took my sabbatical. I discovered all of those things because I was in at the journey, like, do I just want more, more of the external stuff, more money, more whatever. And actually I decided, which came to me mainly during an ayahuasca session, that I wanted to look more inwards instead of like pursuing everything outwards, that I just wanted to look more inwards and yeah, find more freedom. Because again, like, freedom is a big value, and freedom can be financially, but can also be emotionally or location independent or whatever. So I chose to like search more inwards. So I learned a lot about those tools, which have helped me also to navigate through the difficult moments. And even now, still today, I do the breath work, I do the journaling, the meditation, which just helps me to stay centered. Yeah.
Yeah, quite a lot to unpack there. I think first I'll go back to the sort of meditation, journaling, that type of thing. If someone's listening now and they're quite overwhelmed with life and they may be stuck in a rut, and they're kind of aware of these practices, but I think when you're in that spot, it can be quite easy to just sort of do nothing and just sort of, I don't know, like go on Instagram or YouTube. But what is there anything you think which is quite simple to start? You think maybe obviously there are these like really transformative experiences, right, or courses, but is there anything people can do, you think, just every day or something small just to get them started in doing these positive habits?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually had this conversation with my brother and actually with another friend of mine. And my brother was like, yeah, I'll meditate, but I feel like I need to be like in the Himalayas and close my eyes in a beautiful environment, in order to meditate. It's like, bro, if you close your eyes, what do you see of your beautiful environment? No, it's like, and then the other friend of mine is like, oh, I need to research meditation. I need to like do a retreat and understand the different methodologies of meditation. Is like, this is already the mind wanting to overanalyze. And actually the thing of meditation is just letting go of the mind and just being. So yeah, the easiest way, like, meditation is not, it's not a science, right? It's just sitting and just being, and just 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I experimented with guided meditation, with music, with just silence. But for a lot of people, I guess specifically in the Western world, in like Netherlands, like, it's very uncomfortable to just be for 10 minutes. And the mind will act up. It's uncomfortable. So the first couple times, like, oh, am I doing it wrong? I look like an idiot. What will my mom think? What if someone walks in? All that stuff, because the mind wants to protect you from anything that's out of your comfort zone. But yeah, it's a beautiful tool to just let go of everything and just be, and just observe what's happening. So I feel like a lot of people overcomplicate it, but it's very simple. It's just sitting and being, and that has helped for me. Meditation has been great. The more I do it, the more deeper I go. I do it every morning, 10 minutes meditation, 10 minutes breath work. On YouTube, there's a couple of like great breath work practices, which just last 10 minutes, is guided. And it just starts my day with so much more clarity and focus. Of course, like, there's programs, there's mentors, there's the more impactful stuff, which maybe also requires like a financial investment. But for these little things, also with journaling, just writing down your thoughts, it's free and it's so powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, especially the thoughts one as well, because I find like when you write shit down, it's like it just clears out your brain and you just get shit down. And
Yeah.
even on another note, again, just moving away from the mental health, but even if you get distracted doing work as well, I saw this tip. I think I stole it off LinkedIn probably. Maybe he was one of your clients because it presented it very well. But he was, yeah, he was just saying like every time if you're working on something and you get a thought in your mind like, oh, I need to deal with that, just write it down. Just write it down, and then it's not going anywhere. And that has just helped my productivity so much because I'm not like, oh, okay, I need to reply to that email, I need to do this. And you want to be in a flow state, you can't be distracted. So even just writing shit down. But then coming back to your point as well, like I notice the difference in my sleep if I've just written down shit that's on my mind on my phone as well. My notes get a bit jumbled, but yeah, I just put everything there, and then that way your mind's not cluttered.
Yep.
And I think that's a great point about meditation as well, because I think it is so easy to think, I can't meditate. Like,
Yeah.
what is this? Like, it's my, and even myself as well. I know I would get, when I first started doing it, I was quite frustrated. I was like, well, I keep on thinking, and then, this is coming in, this is coming in. But actually, it's like, that's fine. If you just let them be there and just sort of observe them. And yeah, it comes with practice, I think. But that's a great point. If you just start off with 5 minutes, 10 minutes or whatever, and then build that up every day. Because for you, I presume it's a daily practice now? Or?
Yep.
So and over time, you've become better and better and better at it, right? I presume, or?
Good question. Yeah, what is becoming better? Like at some points I still sit and like my mind is just in overdrive. I have so many different thoughts and I go like, whatever, after 10 minutes, like, okay, this is not the day. And that's fine as well. And sometimes like I'm in such a deep, relaxed state, like, oh man, this is great. It's almost like I'm high on something. Like, man, I feel so good. And then I just start my day with clarity. So it differs, right? Like yeah, sometimes it's good. I do feel the more you do it, the more you're like a little bit more trained and like, okay, thought comes up and I'm just letting it go. Yeah, but it's just a matter of doing it every day is different, I would feel.
And do you do the breath work before the meditation?
No, I started off with 2-hour guided workshop for someone with meditation. I did that with my girlfriend at the time. She's like, hey, I'm curious, should we go here? So we just went to this guy's place and he explained a bit about meditation. Then we just sat and closed our eyes because that's what meditation is about. It was good. It just kind of got me started. It kind of like kept me accountable afterwards. But again, meditation not much more than just sitting and being with yourself. And I think that's about 6-7 years ago. The first time I did breath work was in Mexico, which must be like 3 years ago.
Okay.
At the first session, I was like, okay, I'm not sure what this is about. It's not really for me. Then I did a couple more sessions, and then I got to like some really deep shit. It's like, oh, this is really powerful. Yeah.
Okay, so you noticed the positive effects of breath work straight away and meditation, or is it only after a longer period you've seen the benefits of these practices?
Meditation, yes. I think I had to like get used to it the first couple times, but yeah, that one was powerful from the start. And breath work, I think my first session wasn't the greatest. It was still okay, but it wasn't like very profound. And I think the other ones I did afterwards, specifically with the one-on-one session with my friend, who's like a breathwork facilitator, was also shortly after the breakup. And I'll speak for myself, but maybe this goes for a lot of men, that I was very easy to kind of like keep going, like, okay, break up, whatever, business, move on, work out, party, just kind of suppress all of this stuff. And I was like, no, I'm cool, I'm fine. And as soon as like, I guess I felt a bit uncomfortable, it was very easy for me to be on my phone, to go on social media, to whatever.
Block it out.
To block it out. And meditation already kind of brought up some emotions when I actually went to sit down. In the first 5 minutes, I would be like, no, I'm fine. And then I actually was like, oh, fuck, there's actually something here. And breath work really just pushed through that and really got me deep into my emotions. So I feel like breath work is almost like an active way of meditating and gets you really into that deep meditative state, but also there to uncover stuck energy in your subconscious mind. So breath work for me, I've had a lot of different experiences, from visions to feeling like I was just like floating above the ground to crying and screaming and whatever. And intense shit.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, it's awesome. It's something I want to dedicate more time to because I've just found the benefits with Wim Hof, doing Wim Hof meditation every day, and that just gets me feeling super high, and then I really enjoy it, and then it kind of gets me in the mood to sort of meditate as well. Whereas I think when you first wake up, sometimes it can be a bit cloudy, but yeah, I think just it just helps to get rid of the cobwebs and. Yeah, I think just listening to that it just motivates me to just get really deep into the breath work. I know my girlfriend's done it, and yeah, she's just found it so powerful every single time, and seems you have as well.
A friend of mine, she had insomnia her entire life. She did breathwork 2 sessions. She sleeps like a baby. Crazy, no? My mentor, the one I told you about, he actually he did his first breathwork session. He had a vision of I think his sister who passed away a long time ago. That he was actually like talking to her during the breathwork session, and afterwards, the dude who was laying next to him, he's like, "Hey man, was your sister here?" Dude, it's like, yeah,
What?
man, it fucks with some spiritual type of shit. Yeah, don't ask me how it works, but it can bring a whole lot of benefits. Yeah.
Well, the insomnia thing's really interesting because I don't know this, but I presume a lot of that's got to do with this it's feelings, right? Which probably come from your subconscious. So I guess the breath work actually would help to like unravel these hidden emotions. And yeah, I guess a big one as well. Obviously, you mentioned ayahuasca as well. How has that changed your, I don't know, maybe perception on the world, but also just how did it help you release those emotions?
Yeah, ayahuasca was, I always find the word life changing quite impactful, but yeah, it has definitely changed my perception on life, on energy, on like what we're doing here and how that's a part of something much bigger which we don't understand. I don't have the answers unfortunately as well, but yeah, it did bring me to like another world where yeah, it made me much more aware of like how this is just a small particle of what it is that whatever is out there. And yeah, it did uncover also like a lot of emotions for me. My first ayahuasca journey was in Mexico. I had a really beautiful experience in the beginning because everyone's like crying and puking and shouting and whatever, and I was like, I felt so held and loved, and it was such a beautiful experience. Like, fuck you, motherfuckers! Like, I'm all good here. And then I actually heard the voice like we got work to do, and it's like, oh fuck, you know. So and then I got dragged into like a lot of stored emotions, maybe like similar to breath work, you know, because as you said, like it's all stored subconsciously. It's all energy which is stuck, all unprocessed processes or incomplete processes, which is all just stuck. Which I really learned from Joe Dispenza. I read his book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, and it like from a rational mind explains so clearly how everything works, energy wise, subconscious wise, and how that's connected to the universe or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that's how I also experienced it during my ayahuasca journey. I just came through emotions. I didn't know that they were there. So a whole lot of release, a whole lot of pain coming up, but also like a whole lot of healing. And I did feel afterwards I was much more able to come to my emotions, to feel my emotions, to express my emotions, and also my meditations I felt afterwards were more impactful, more profound. So yeah, it has shifted a lot of different things, and just the perspective on the world and on the planet we live at. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it just opens up your mind to different possibilities. And the perspective is just a big one as well, right? It just helps you see things for what they are, and yeah, so powerful. I wonder if, because it is through that medicine we can explore the stuff. You mentioned breath work there as well, because I wonder how difficult it actually is to resolve this shit without these tools, right? I mean, because like you said, you know, it's just you would go on your phone and you'd party and like you'd be having a great time, but then there is this like tension there, as you've mentioned, like okay, shit, there actually is this unresolved stuff. I wonder if there's ways in which people can do that without these tools, or whether they are actually they're gaining traction for a reason, right? Did you think you would have been able to reach similar results just through observation, perhaps, or through a period of time, or?
Yeah, difficult to say. I would say no, because it's always difficult to see like what you do, how that eventually positively affects you. It's not after one breathwork session, like, okay, I'm now done with the breakup, like all is good. It takes time, right? As one of my mentors said, like every time you change 1%, like same as an airplane, you know, if it flies and you changes 1% of its direction, it's going to land somewhere completely different. And I feel like it's the same way with all of these practice. It's about doing the work consistently. And like, yeah, you're just going to land and end up somewhere else, wherever that may be, but it might just be 1% every time. I did do like talk therapy. I did that, I think beginning this year still. I had a couple sessions, and before I had a couple of like talk therapists, which I think is good as well. Just that's also how we met in the brotherhood, just be able to share. Just if it's 5 minutes, man, it's so powerful. Like my entire week, I'm already thinking like, hey, what I'm going to share with the guys, you know, like I have this opportunity to share. So that's also powerful.
Really is.
And just having that, the feeling accepted and listening to others, it's just a tool, which is also powerful. But once I got to understand, again, referencing Joe Dispenza, like how energy works in the subconscious mind, you can talk about it, doesn't mean that it's emotionally resolved or that the energy is resolved in your body, right? Up until you're 35, I think he says your subconscious mind is just programmed like a computer software, and then you basically are who you are. I'm 35 now, so meaning like my computer program is complete. The subconscious mind, same as just like driving a car. In the beginning, you think about it, and afterwards, you don't think about, you know, driving a manual. It's just what you do. Same as like with the emotions which are stuck, the learnings that you had. So according to him, like the only way to get to that is to go into like a meditative state of mind and then resolving these energies which are stuck in your subconscious mind, which you cannot overcome with thinking or talking. Same as like often people say like, oh, I want to quit smoking, I want to quit drinking. It's just very rationally minded. But if you don't really feel it and go inside, actually resolve some of these things, then you're actually not able to. So I think it should be a good combination of both. At least it has been for me. And yeah, I think it has been powerful. Again, I don't know where else the plane would have landed.
Right.
But yeah, I'm very grateful that I have these tools. And still now sometimes emotions come up from my breakup of fucking 2 years ago. I'm like, man, I thought I was done with this shit, you know?
Never-ending journey.
It is. And then luckily I have these tools which help me to kind of keep my sanity instead of partying and going crazy and swiping, and also still part of it, but I think it's dangerous if that's the only thing how you can deal with these emotions. And specifically back at home, like a lot of people don't know about these tools. If I say breath work, they go like, bro, I've been breathing my entire life. It's like, yeah, but that's not what it's about.
Yeah, I think this, like you said, it's just we're so lucky we have access to all of this stuff, right? Just go onto YouTube and you can find like a breathwork thing, and yeah, again, I think the men's circles, like you said, while it won't necessarily solve the issue down here in your body, I think, yeah, just having that opportunity to listen to people and to have that moment where you feel heard and listened to, that's all people want. They just want to be understood and listened to. And yeah, I think just a combination of practices is so powerful. And again, like you've said, not having that mindset of, right, this is going to solve everything. It's like, okay, it just takes time and time and time again. I think that's really important. You've mentioned there, like, yeah, stuff from this breakup keeps coming up for you. I wonder just how that's been for you and how your sort of perception of relationships has sort of changed over the last sort of 2 years or so. Because I know you've mentioned, yeah, like it's great fun, like partying and doing all this type of thing. But yeah, it's something that's really interested me in my own journey. It's like, okay, what am I actually sort of seeking out of yeah, like partying and all this stuff, right? Because it is good fun, of course, but it's like what's the real purpose behind it? And yeah, I find all that stuff super interesting. If you feel happy to talk about it, obviously.
Yeah, sure. So your question being like, how did my perception of relationship change ever since like being single?
Yeah, because 7 years is a long time, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense. It would take a while to like even process all of that. But yeah, has being single for the last 2 years given you a different perception now that you're sort of out of that?
Yeah. Yeah, like huge topic, a very relevant topic, very relevant question as well. Yeah, I was in a relationship for 7 years. Beautiful, good relationship. And at the same time, I always wondered like what else is out there. There still was like this little single Joeri inside of me who wanted to go crazy and party and explore the world. So that created a lot of friction also for my partner back then, understandably. Because yeah, I always found it hard to like fully commit and then say like no to all the other all the things that life can bring as well. And freedom again is really important to me. So discovering things, exploring things, seeing what's out there. Yeah, that was always very tempting. I always stuck with my relationship, always been faithful, but it was always something in the back of my mind that was like there. Also like committing to someone. I think I was 26 when I got into the relationship, 26, 27. Committing to someone for the rest of your life always felt like quite a bit of a commitment, specifically if you view it from the freedom value and the freedom standpoint. So yeah, interestingly enough, like I never had much of a picture of what it is that I actually wanted. I was like exploring what I wanted to do within the relationship. Unfortunately, that didn't last, and I ended up in Bali, and I came to like a couple of points like, man, I have all the fucking freedom I could ever ask for. Everything that I could ever have thought of and more I have now found. I live on a beautiful island. Yeah, I'm single. I can do what I want. I can meet amazing people. Financially, things were going well. So yeah, I found like all the freedom I was looking for, which has been a ton of fun. And I've been very, very, and still very, very grateful for it. It was like a kid in a candy shop. You're like, whoa, what did I end up in? Specifically here in Bali. The first time I drove here to Bali, it's like, man, just all like-minded people like me. Beautiful women, beach clubs and parties and networking events and entrepreneurial meetups and inspirational business owners. And yeah, that's was great for my need for dopamine. It was like every time was a new experience, and I met new people, and I did the breath work, and I did this and this and this. And it has been great. And that's been 2 years. And now I'm dealing with the question, or observing the question, like, what's next? Yes, I've done the parties and I've done the beach clubs. I've explored Bali. I've done the single life. I've done the dating. Like, okay, what's next? Is it more beach clubs? Is it more dating? Is it more whatever? Or is it something more substantially rewarding or fulfilling? Which I think my answer would be in a relationship and further continuing the business to serve people. I think that that's more long lasting rather than the FOMO dopamine hits I always tend to chase, because then it just becomes repetitive. Wonder what your perception is, but I think it's just becoming more of the same thing and something more long lasting. Yeah, I guess it's deeper relationship, romantic partner, kids possibly, and like a business that you build to actually serve others. Curious to hear your opinion on this one.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I guess from my side as well, I don't think there's one answer for the whole of your life. I think you have periods, right? It's like, if you'd gone from 7-year relationship into another relationship straight away, it's like you haven't really fed your curiosities from before. And I do think, people go through periods, right? It's like, even, I know with, it used to be called like a hoe phase, where where people would, and there'd be like a notorious thing in not everyone, but I think a lot of people would sort of go through that because it's just right. You've gone out of a relationship maybe, and you've done that. It's super interesting because I think we have a tendency to want what we don't have, and it's like if you're in a relationship, you were saying, I had this sort of, even though you were sort of faithful all the time, you still had this, but what if I could meet all these women and that type of thing, have lots of fun. And then, now it's like, okay, you've had that fun, and then now it's, okay, maybe there's something more substantial. And it's funny, I can't remember who mentioned it, but I remember the quote was, if you're in a desert, you can't imagine being too cold. And if you're too cold, somewhere in, I don't know, the South Pole or whatever, you can't imagine being too hot. And I guess that's how it goes in relationships and being single, right? If you're single, you keep on thinking about, but it'd be lovely if I could just have a cuddle with someone, tell everyone all my problems and support them.
Yeah.
And then naturally, I think if you're in a relationship, I think it is in most men, I think there is going to be a little bit of a, what if, and that type of thing. I think ultimately, you touched upon a good point there. It's like, what's the meaning of life? And it's going to be different for everyone. But ultimately, I think throughout time, the meaning of life has been to reproduce, right? It's been to build a family. I mean, that is, from what I see, what's led us up to this point. And it kind of got me thinking, because again, slight tangent, but then I remember the question coming up about why are you gonna want to bring kids into this world and that type of thing. And at first it was always like, oh nah, like I love my own shit. I love this world. I love everything I do. I'm not sure if I'd bring kids into this world because there's lots of weird shit happening, especially now more than ever. Who knows what's going to happen with AI and shit. But then two things changed my perspective. One, I think on that point I just mentioned, was that people have been reproducing throughout like the whole history of time, and life's been fucked up forever. You know, you had world wars, you had the Black Plague, you've had you know, the Battle of Hastings, and people have still reproduced, right? So it's like, well, what's gonna stop me just because? Okay, there's a lot of crazy people and shit out there, and lots of AI, but you know, whatever. You know, if people have managed to have kids, and on that note as well, you know, it's like my grandma fled Nazi Germany when she was 19, and her whole family, apart from her brother, died. So she came here at 19 with nothing, and because of that, she then met my granddad's in the UK, who also fled, and yeah, they met in the UK, and they formed this amazing legacy. You know, I've got 5 sisters. I've got my dad and my 2 aunts as well, and I just think all that's happened because she made that decision at 19, and I'm just like, I mean, wow, like why? I've got to carry on that legacy. Like, that's incredible. So that's changed. And then it comes back to our question where it's like, okay, what's really going to fulfill me in the long term? And I think it is probably the relationship avenue, because again, I think for me going into my relationship, it has been, it's funny because I'd never been in a relationship before. So I always thought, okay, yeah, it's just easy. Like, you love someone, they love you. Happy days, you know. It's just, and I couldn't get it. It's like, what, couples argue? Like, what's going on there? But then you realise it actually takes work, and it actually takes a lot of growth from your end, because then you start realising stuff about yourself, and it actually requires you to be a man. It requires you to step up a bit, and I think it helps you grow as a person. And I just think if it's the right person, then I think that's the way to go. But I think everyone's different. I think people have different needs. I've met, I had my friend, he said, it's the relationship life, it doesn't suit me. I've got all these dreams to achieve. I don't want to be a part-time boyfriend or father or husband, and I get that completely. I think it all depends on the individual. And I think you can go through phases. I think just because you go through one phase of your life, you know, womanizing and having a great time, doesn't mean you can't then go into a relationship. Or you might find someone who's wants an open relationship and that type of thing. I don't think there's any real right answer. At all. I guess it just can get very complex, I think, in the world we live in. It's this paradox of choice, you know, and I think that can stop a lot of relationships from developing by just thinking that there's so many other options out there.
The best thing that I heard, like, life is very simple. It's just about 3 things in life. It's about fully grabbing onto something, fully experiencing it, and fully letting go. Right? And I think that touches upon what you mentioned, like with the different cycles, and there's no right or wrong answer. Like, if you want to womanize till you're 80, perfect, but make sure you really grab onto it and fully also enjoy it, right? And same with relationships, like, and I can speak for myself only, but like, fully grabbing on something like, this is my girl, fucking gonna go for it, and really being with her, experiencing the relationship. And also when it's no longer working, you say like, hey, it's served its need, I'm gonna let go, and I'm gonna let you grab on to the next thing. And that goes for business, relationships, I think everything in life. And me and probably for a lot of other people, we suck at everything. Like, I don't know if this is really the thing, or when you're in it, your mind is somewhere else. And when you want to let go, you're kind of like holding on to it. Like, I don't really want to let her or him go, or the business, or maybe I should. And just fully grabbing onto it, experiencing it, and letting go. Those are the 3 things really to practice, so that you really are in the moment and just experiencing it, whatever it is that you choose, right? Because eventually it is a choice. If you want to be in a relationship or single, if you want to build a business, work for the payroll, but just enjoy it, because that's the only thing that you can do. And for myself as well. Like often I was with someone or in the business and I go like, oh, but maybe I should be in crypto, or maybe you should do this, or maybe I should be single in Bali, or maybe I should have a relationship, and that takes away from the experience.
Yeah, that's such a great point. I think if you're going to do something, commit 100% to it. Yeah, it just goes for everything, mate. It's like if you're thinking too far in the future about what's next, and then if you've got one foot there in the future, and then you've got one foot backwards where you're sort of thinking about what could have been, and you can't let go of it, then you're just pissing on the present. So yeah, I think that can bring quite a lot of peace to people. I think just being intentional, and if you're in a relationship, give it a fucking all, and then if it doesn't work out,
Yep.
just let it go. I think Letting Go, that's a great book. I can't remember who it's by, but I think for those who don't really understand the concepts, like what does letting go meant for you in your instance? Because it's about letting go of like emotions, past experiences, right? In your instance, what has that experience of look like for you, and how has that concept helped you move forward? Like letting go of your past relationship,
Yeah.
past job opportunities, that type of thing.
Yeah, I read the book. Very interesting. I just remember, I think it was an example of how you can choose your reaction. And I think often we're like caught up in our emotions and we feel like we have no choice but to just go with our emotions. And I think it was like if you crash into a car, like there's like eight different ways you can respond. You can scream to the guy, or you can like offer him help or do whatever. And yeah, the letting go part, I think it's much about, I struggle with it myself 100%, like specifically when it comes to relationships, when I deeply am committed to someone and then having to let go and accept that was a phase, that's really difficult for me. Like I'll definitely admit to that, and I have to practice. I'm still practicing. I just did a guided meditation this morning on like cord cutting with someone, and like how to actually like cut the cord of someone you have energetically with someone, to just let go. But yeah, those things I have always found very difficult with people or phases in life. First time I went to study abroad was in Curacao, like the best time of my life, and we had like 50 friends, and like it was just beautiful, like a beautiful paradise island. First time I was abroad, and it was such an amazing time. And then I just had to accept the fact that was over. It was like the chapter is closed, you can never go back. And I think I always try to find ways to go back and recreate that. Also being guilty of then not being in the present moment, but wanting to live in the past or something that might exist in the future. So it's a big topic for me that I'm still dealing with. And I think the spirituality, if you want to call it that way, the meditation, the breath work, helps to just accept that things are the way they are. And if it's, I think what I mentioned in the beginning of our conversation, like it's just a phase. If business sucks, just to take a distancing, okay, then that's just the way it is. And then that's meant to be. And like there will come a different phase where things are different. Doesn't mean that you're powerless, but it's just accepting instead of resisting of what is now, and then using your mind and your ambition to like create something different. Easier said than done. Again, like it's a big topic for me to like deal with as well. But just by reading it, being present, letting go of my mind, because I know my mind is very powerful. Like can be always on and overthink. So to just let that go and practice and just be present here in the conversation instead of having to think about all the other things I still need to do, enjoying this, and then going off to enjoy the time with my brother at the beach club and being present there. Those practices, active listening, if someone speaks, like what is it that they're saying? Like, can you actually be present in this moment? I think that's a way of letting go of mainly your thoughts and then just being here. That's the most powerful thing that we can do.
Yeah, I think you've summarized that idea so well. I think just being conscious as well, right? If you realize that your brain's over here, just being aware of it and just sort of bringing it back in the present, super important. And it's funny because you mentioned that like Curacao example. I've heard a bit about it. It sounds incredible, right?
Sorry, which example?
Just where you were on that island and
Curacao. Sorry, yeah.
Curacao, yeah. My accent's not the best, but yeah, I remember some Dutch people telling me about that. But it reminds me of sort of Barcelona, because when I was there, I was just having such a great time. I was seeing this Belgian woman, and I was like, wow, this is so much fun. And then I had my Thai boxing there. Had really good friendship circle as well. I quite enjoyed my job, and I loved my raving as well. So there were some great underground parties and that type of stuff. And I remember I was one of the first people to leave in early June, and I remember actually because I was thinking like, okay, right, I think it just ended quite naturally, and I went for a final coffee with that Belgian girl, knowing that okay, right, that was just going to be it. And it's funny because I was at kind of peace with it, and in my mind I'm thinking, okay, like if I don't leave now, other people will start leaving eventually, and then I'll be the only one left. So actually, you want to leave when it's good,
Yeah.
because then you're the first one. It's like you leave the party when it's popping.
Yeah, that would be me. I would be the person being the last person there, just trying to soak up everything I can get. That would be me. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's like at a party, it's like when you have stayed to the end, how often has it actually been worth it when you could have stayed until maybe 2 a.m. or something?
Yeah,
that's really funny. But then it's funny because I was at total peace with that. That was in June, and then in August, I can't remember, I think I was visiting my friend in Puglia in Italy, and there weren't any direct flights. And I had the option. I could go via, I think it was Rome, or where I might have been able to meet up with an old friend, maybe, or I could have gone via Barcelona. And again, there was that part of me that was like, oh, I should go to Barcelona because I fucking love that place. And what happened was I went to Barcelona, texted that girl who I saw. We ended things perfectly, and I then texted her, didn't hear anything, completely ghosted. And what else happened? All my friends had left except for one. He let me stay at my old place. And I was just like, wow, okay, you just shouldn't go back.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, that moment was perfect in the present.
Yeah.
So actually, I think it taught me a big lesson, which was like, everything's happened and they're not there forever. So it kind of made it a lot easier to let go, right? It's like, perhaps if you return to that island now, you would go there and half the people have probably left, or maybe all of them.
Yep.
And then it's, that moment's passed.
Yep.
And it's, I think just, coming to peace with that taught me a big lesson. So now I'm like, right, if something's happened, like, leave that moment how it is. Cause, and then, it's a shame because you're like, well, it's obviously all worked out for a reason now. And, I've got a lovely girlfriend now, but and it's like that relationship, any sort of idea that relationship would have blossomed in the future, that just died because of that moment. And there was obviously a reason for that.
Yeah.
Like the universe was teaching me something, but and it's all worked out well. But it was a really powerful lesson, I think, and I think if you have that perspective, like, oh, things were so good back then, but it's like, okay, but that was then, and it's like that doesn't last forever. I think it just makes you appreciative of the memory as well. Similar experiences in South America as well. In South America it was again had this amazing moment where we climbed Machu Picchu, and it was just such a wonderful group of people. Some people traveling from Israel, some from Hawaii, and we formed this amazing group. And I just sort of said goodbye to them. I was like, right, I'm going to the US now, then I'm going back home. I guess we'll stay in touch. And I just said, look, I don't know where this is all going to lead to, but it's like I'll never forget this amazing memory. And there's always going to be a piece of this memory in your heart somewhere, right? And it was just that was it, and just being content with that moment. And I think that was just really helpful for me. I think just understanding that, and big lesson on sort of letting go. But as you've said, I think it is very tricky. To just let go of stuff, and that's why I think these practices are sort of so helpful, right? They just really help you. I think just stay grounded and stay focused, and it's also important as well to keep on doing them even when life seems good. I think we've got a tendency to only want to do this shit when shit's gone bad. And that's like me, like with my Wim Hof. It's like when life's good, I'll be like, okay, cool, don't need to do that anymore. And then I'll end up, when life gets a bit messy, I'll end up thinking, oh shit, I need to do Wim Hof. And I'm like, okay, right, shouldn't have stopped doing it in the first place. I think that's really important
Yeah,
as well,
true.
right?
Yeah. It brings you back to your center. That's the thing that I like about meditation. It just brings you back to that peaceful inner center of yourself, regardless of what's happening in your life or where your brain is taking you, because your brain is always taking you to the future, to the past, or it's very risk aversive. Is that the word?
Yeah.
So it's always thinking about problems, and like the meditation or the breath work just brings you back to the peaceful state of mind, whatever is going on in the world. So that is indeed so powerful to find that place within yourself and not relying on anything happening externally. And yeah, I think it's beautiful for what you shared, because there's a lot of power in just accepting that a moment has passed by and it's in the past. And in all honesty, I find that scary as fuck to often think about things like, oh man, like I'm 35 now. Fuck, I'm 35, bro. Shit, like so much has already happened. And there's so many closed chapters and so many beautiful moments and memories and people and that's closed then. You never go back. I find that one of the scariest things in life or so, that's just life obviously is just progressing. And you mentioned about the meaning of life. We talk about reproducing. I think it's actually progression. So if we reproduce, we create a new generation and we teach them things that we learned. So it's just about progressing with every generation and in work and in relationships. And yeah, that's with life progresses, and like you progress in life and you learn and you have chapters and you're experiencing it and then you close it off. Again, coming to like the fully grabbing onto something, experiencing it and letting go. But yeah, just the thought like, oh man, like I'll never be 22 and pop my first ecstasy pill or do my first rave or make love for the first time. Like, man, that's crazy. Or never, yeah, because you also mentioned about going back to Barcelona. Same with the relationship. Like if I were to go back to one of my exes, because it was so beautiful at the time, like that no longer exists. That relationship is dead, fundamentally done. Doesn't mean like something new could exist, perhaps, if you go back to someone, but that part is done. So then you start something new, a new chapter, which could be good or bad, I don't know, but like that, it's done. And that goes with relationships and with places, with businesses. Yeah, and in all the end, it's all about the progression that you have in life, and you learn from these experiences. So it's beautiful how you described it, and I find it scary still at sometimes as well. Yeah.
Yeah, even just you expanding on that, we're just on this growth voyage, and the voyage just keeps on going. And like you said, that relationship, it was just there. It was there in this moment in time, and yeah, you just, and I think that's an interesting one. I think a lot of people do go back to their exes, not in all examples, but sometimes they do that because they've got this idea of when they first were with them, and they hold on to that past idea, right? I think it's just a natural human thing to do. Just hold on to the past experiences and let that taint your thinking. And yeah, I think that's just pretty much summarizes our conversation quite well. You're just on this voyage and you're constantly learning, and yeah, it just keeps on going. Yeah, really, really interesting conversation. Yeah, this has been really profound. Yeah, thank you so much. Really fucking enjoyed it, Joeri. Yeah, I think that pretty much, I think that ends things quite nicely. I think one way in which I like to end the podcast, it's usually, very lighthearted, but it's just your favorite song at the moment.
Favorite song? I just put it on my favorite list, which is really nice. It brings me like really good energy. I'm not sure if you watched Casa de Papel.
Yes.
Bella Ciao.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I heard it recently, and it just creates like this. I'm not sure if it's the exact same version as they play in Casa de Papel, but I'll play it for you after the podcast. But it's just this great song to give like great energy. Bella Ciao, it's called.
Is this is it like a remix, or is it or is it the original? Because there's an original one as well.
Yeah, there were so many versions, and I found one which was quite upbeat and just has like a really good energy to it. So
Wicked.
yeah, when I'm like in the gym, I put it on, like almost like fucking dancing in between like the bumbles and in between the weights. So that's that's part of my favorite list since like a couple days. So I'll share that one. Yeah.
What a great show, by the way. Yeah.
Casa de Papel. Yeah, I enjoy that. That was so good as well.
So good. Who's your favorite character?
Ooh, it's been a while, man. I don't know. I don't remember the names anymore, to be honest.
Yeah, trying to remember them. I think my favorite, well, obviously the professor was.
There was a professor and the counterpart guy who's like also He was like
Berlin?
leading the team, like the team lead.
It wasn't Berlin, was it the psychopath, maybe?
Could be. Again, like it's been
Yeah,
a
it's
while,
been
so I don't remember. There's like a lot of city names in there.
Yeah, no stress. All right, and where can people find you? Is it, do you want to plug your Instagram, LinkedIn, anything like that?
Yeah, Instagram or LinkedIn with work. I'm not sure where you publish this, but probably good to like write out my name, as my first name is even easier than my last name. So Joeri Ruijgrok, that's my full name. LinkedIn or Instagram would be good. Yep.
Okay, wicked. Yeah, this has been such an awesome conversation. So
Thanks,
yeah.
man. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. This was good. I think we touched upon a lot of different fundamental things in life, so it was good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I could keep on going, I'm sure. But yeah, most welcome. Most welcome.
Letting go, bro. Letting go.
Yeah, that's it.